Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. 6:30, December 15th, 2021. Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made by Lori, seconded by Shelley. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Roll call. We are all present. District mission, vision, and values, and also our collective commitment. Shelley will read tonight. Thank you, Shelley.
Bangor School District Mission, Vision, and Value Statement. Mission, Bangor Pride, a small school building big futures. Vision, an innovative small school creating excellence through personalized learning and relationships for all. Values, student-centered, small class sizes, continuous improvement, professionalism, opportunities for all, safety, foster community, sustainability. Board of Education collective commitments. As a member of the Bangor School Board, I will be an active listener who is open-minded, respectful, and inquisitive. Together with one collective voice, we are committed to forward thinking while strategically prioritizing for our students, staff, and community now and into the future.
Thank you. Public comment? We have nobody signed up. Thank you. On to approval of the minutes, November 17th regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes. Second.
Was that Tina? Yep. Motion made by Lori, seconded by Tina to approve the November 17th regular meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Special reports. The students, we had them stay home tonight because of the pending weather. Board President's report. So incumbent board members' declaration of candidacy reminders. I think you had some of the documents that you need to sign. All of us did with our packets here. The attached notice will be printed November 18th and November 20, or were November 18th and November 22nd. And incumbents, as well as any interested new candidates, can stop into the district office at any time and pick up the paperwork and ask questions appropriately. I know Jody is more than willing to answer questions as well. Anything else, Mr. Brockup? Okay, thank you. January board meeting date. So David is going to the convention, and that is on the Wednesday, January 19th is our regular board meeting, and he will be either leaving that day or the evening before. So proposed dates for change, and what we've done in the past is either the week before, January 12th, or the week later, January 26th. I don't know if anyone has preferences or dates that they cannot be present.
I would not be able to make the 26th.
On the which one?
26th.
January 12th.
There's a motion there. We just have to put the 12th in and somebody can make that motion.
I'll make the motion to move the January regular board meeting from January 19th to January 12th.
Motion made by Shelley, seconded by Joni to move our regular board meeting from January 19th to January 12th, 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Correspondence. I do not have anything here. Okay. Committee reports. Policy committee. Joni?
We met again to try to finish out volume 30, number 1 revisions. You recall from last meeting that we finished about half of them. This time we went through what remained, plus one more that had been brought forward by some community members that they wanted to be reviewed. Thought we had a good meeting, good discussion. It's myself, Lisa, and Jack that serve on that committee. A lot of it, as you are well aware, is just technical language and updating those things, but we did have some good discussion on some of them that you'll see later in the meeting. Anything else?
No, just other than we will be, I am meeting early January with the representative from Neola, and we'll be looking at another group. So we'll probably have a couple more months beginning of next year where we'll have additional revisions.
Thank you, Joni, Lisa, and Jack for your time and commitment. Very appreciated. Building and grounds. Shelley?
Yeah, we met twice. The first time was on the 2nd of December. We interviewed 4 companies. What we're looking at doing is an overall study of the school district and get a sense of our growth, what the future looks like, and the possible needs in some of our buildings. And like I said, we met with 4 companies on the 2nd. We weren't comfortable that night given the decision because the time was very short. There was a lot of information to take in a very short time. We brought back 1 company to answer a few questions we had, and they did a very good job. And we came down to Nexus is the company that we'll recommend. David has some slides to show on the presentation.
Thank you. And thank you, Shelley, Tina, and Lori for your time and commitment. All right. What else do we have? Next here is district financials.
Yeah, and I would just say in the financials, we did get a couple of questions, Angie and I did, on a couple of our property insurance and workman's comp insurance payment that just stood out to folks. And we had questions on Catholic Charities, which is where we send a couple of students in lacrosse, and questions on, trying to remember the last one.
It was media stuff, library
The
media.
library media, one of the subscriptions that that the elementary school is using with the Brain Pop, I believe, the subscription for the whole building, so that kids can use those on their iPads. So other than that, we didn't receive any other questions on the financials, so we'd look for approval of those.
I'd move to approve the financials as presented.
I'll second.
Motion made by Joni, second by Lori to approve the financial documents as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. COVID-19 response plan update.
Yeah, I again just put this on here because I think it's important that we kind of keep updated with what's going on in the district. I'm not proposing any changes to the plan tonight, but we'll just share as of the end of the day today, 4 active cases within the district. We had 20 COVID-related absences today. The total cases since 9/8 when we started tracking this is 85. Cases throughout the course of the year. I did some just some averaging and things like that. Our average daily case count is 5.73 throughout the course of that time here. We're below that average at 4 right now. We did have this week, obviously, you've seen the communication, some connection at the middle school, and we responded to that with middle schoolers being masked up through Christmas break here. That's going to affect, to some extent, the choir concert next Monday. It'll affect a couple of basketball games. We were able to determine that we have enough students that we can continue to participate in the basketball games, so the kids will not miss out on those opportunities. Those that are not out will not miss out on those opportunities throughout the rest of the year. We will, I think, just based on our last couple days of numbers, We do plan on a little bit of extra messaging ahead of activities over the next few days and next week. So we have a elementary concert tomorrow night. I intend before that concert happens, send out an all district message, just reminding people we are not requiring masks at this time, but they're highly recommended and encouraged at the concert when we have a full gym full of people. We'll do the same for the concerts and games that will remain here at the middle school and high school between now and the end of the year. So, or between now and the end of the school next Wednesday. So we're keeping an eye on it. We're really, as far as our trend, we're still pretty flatlined. But again, we did see that evidence this week of a little bit of spread within a group. So that's kind of the current situation. Part of what I wanted to talk about tonight with as well was the superintendent's, and PAC meeting last Friday. There's beginning to be conversations about the impact of vaccination. So now that vaccination is available for students 5 through 18, and all of our adults, have eligibility, at a certain point in time, the responsibility of I don't want to say the responsibility of safety, because that's always on the district, but the responsibility of the choice whether to be vaccinated, whether to wear a mask, is going to shift from the school's responsibility to decide when it is to mask and when it is not to mask, and shift to the families. I don't know when that is. I'm not saying that's immediately, but I think that's going to be one of those next steps. And if there's any thoughts on that, just as far as what that impact of everyone being eligible to be vaccinated, what you guys see for the future. Obviously no changes in plan tonight, but in January, February, after we see numbers coming back from break, we may be coming back with some potential changes at that point in time, and just curious to see how the group feels about those types of things based on the fact that the eligibility is there now. And if there's no thoughts, that's fine too, but I thought maybe you would want to weigh in.
I think it's a good idea. Like you say, now that the possibility of vaccination is there, anybody who wants to be vaccinated can be vaccinated for their safety. For whatever reason, if you choose not to be vaccinated, that's a choice you make as well. So I think, putting that back the other way, I think that's a good start. Like you say, when it happens, that's to be determined yet, but I think it's a good conversation to be having.
I don't know that I would want to give up the ability for you to make a call if we had an outbreak. So I don't think I would ever want to totally put that on everybody else.
And we've talked about one of the major indicators in a community is hospital capacity. And if we're seeing increased, numbers in hospitals, we don't want to be adding to that. So that may be a time that's not related to the number of cases we see here or vaccination status or anything. We just may need to help the community at that point in time. So I would agree. I would hate to see all just given up and put your hands in the air. But I just wanted to be able to communicate that with you guys and just say, hear from you. At what point in time do we start to think about those things? I don't think right now is the time. It's why it's not on the agenda. I don't know that January is going to be the time. Last year, we really started to see, I believe in March, numbers starting to drop off. So if this is cyclical, similar to what we saw last year, that may be a time where we see numbers start to fall. Until then, I think we've got good measures in place, and that's why I'm not proposing any changes to the plan tonight. But wanted to have that conversation, and anybody else has any feedback on that, I'd welcome it.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Boys basketball overnight field trip request.
There's a request for our boys are going to be playing in a tournament in Stratford over the break. It is a 2-day tournament. They're staying in Marshfield So all of our overnight trips take board approval. It is just the varsity team that is going. They'd be leaving on the 29th at 1:30 and returning on the 30th at 9 p.m. So there are 12 students going, the 12 varsity players, the coaches and the bus driver. The cost to the district is the bus driver only. The basketball team raised money for the hotels and meals. So asking for approval of that overnight trip.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made by Joni, seconded by Shelley to approve the overnight field trip request for the boys basketball team. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Girls basketball overnight.
And this one is a tournament in Schulzburg. And actually head coach Merlin Jones is a bus driver, so he'll be driving them. He will get paid for the driving time. They're staying in Dubuque and they are looking at leaving at 1:30 on the 29th as well. And then the return time on the 30th is kind of pending on the game time because theirs is an actual tournament where the boys is a round robin. So they are taking 19 players and he said all players are welcome to go. Same thing. They raise the money with their fundraising efforts to pay for the hotels and everything as well. So it's the same 2 days, just in the opposite direction.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
So Tina? Motion made by Tina, seconded by Lori to approve the overnight field trip basketball tournament for the girls basketball team. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone. Facility study company selection, Mr. Braca.
All right, we're gonna pull up a PowerPoint right behind you. I think the board has seen this, but we'll make sure the community sees this as well. So I'm really very excited to get this process going. A facility planning process is going to allow us to really take a look at what what our facilities need. They're going to take a look at our enrollment, a number of other things, and just kind of help us plan for the future. This can take a lot of different shapes and forms. And when we looked at all of the possibilities that may be, we really felt that Nexus Solutions was the company that would be the most comprehensive and be able to support our process at the greatest level. So you will be meeting this team, but go ahead to the next slide, John. You'll be meeting this team in January. If we can get to the next slide. Kevin Hickman will be our primary contact, and he will help with a lot of the community engagement piece during this process. The community engagement piece is a really, really important part to mention right now. This is not a district administration, staff, school board agenda. This is a community agenda to figure out what this community needs to move forward. And what Kevin will help do is facilitate a process where we listen to those stakeholders. We take valuable input from those stakeholders to help figure out the community's feel on what the future of Bangor schools should look like. So Kevin will be an important part of that process, and he will be one of the first folks that you guys meet as a board. Michael David is the president of the company, is a master in facilities planning, and the school finance part helps us figure out the most cost-effective way to use any dollars that we are able to get, and where else we can find money and how to pool money. And I think this will be an important part of when we look at some of those ESSER dollars moving forward over the next few years. How we can strategically plan to make sure that we get the best value from that one-time money. Brent Jones, project development oversight. Chris Gibbs is huge into the educational adequacy and design part. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means on the next slide. And Brian and Deb are kind of round out the team with the infrastructure, deferred maintenance, really understanding what our systems and facilities are, how much useful life is left in them, and making sure we don't spend a bunch of money and put paint on something and then tear it out shortly thereafter. They really want to look at the fact that we're using our money well. And then Deb Smith will be huge on the communication side, from primarily behind the scenes. But if this were to go to a place in the community were to support going to a referendum to look at additional things, she would be integral part of helping us communicate what it is that the Bangor schools are planning. So lots of experience among that team, and we're excited to have them on board. Johnny, you can go to the next slide real quick. So this is just a real brief overview of the facility assessment and planning focus, and it just kind of shares. I'm not going to read all of that, but you know, it talks about the deferred maintenance, the demographics analysis, understanding the kids that we serve. Educational adequacy is our space is set up for the 21st century learning that we want to be delivering. They'll look at furniture and equipment, all of those types of things in our schools that make our schools function well on a daily basis. The capacity assessment, I think, is a big question for all of us, and to have an outside perspective on how many students our schools can hold, as we're seeing a 50 student increase this year. What does that look like moving forward? The financial capacities and opportunities, they will work with Baird and the models that Baird has developed over time. So I think that's a really important thing to note here and in multiple other areas. They will not necessarily replace all of the companies we've worked with in the past with facilities. They will just coordinate with. They will coordinate with Baird, architects that we've worked with in the past, contractors that we've worked with in the past, or they may, you know, we may decide as a board or a team that we want to go with somebody different at that point in time. But there will be multiple decisions along the way. They're going to develop some floor plans and some you know, just some good guiding documents that are going to help us prioritize. You know, I think prioritization is a big part of that process. So that's kind of what they're going to do during this facilities assessment portion. And then we go to that last slide. With the last slide, this is just so you guys can kind of see what's going to happen this school year still. So December, obviously, we're looking to get this approved tonight, the MOU with them. January, they will come in here, boots on the ground, and start measuring and taking pictures and trying to figure out what it is that needs to have some assessment or has some work done to it. February, that will continue. You're going to see there's staff surveys in there, and some of that engagement piece starting to come in. March, the budgeting, funding options developed, all of those presentations of the facility plans to the board, public getting included in that process, April and then May. So evaluate kind of what that process looks. So it's going to be a busy few months. We're going to have lots of people in and out of the building as we assess, assess what we've got and start to dream about the future and how we make sure that Bangor is the destination district that we all want it to be. So, that's kind of exciting. So, that's their program. That's what they bring. As Shelley talked about, we had 4 companies that came in. This is by far the company that we feel is going to be the best fit for Bangor moving forward. I don't know if Tina or Lori want to say anything, but otherwise, I'm going to be looking for approval of their agreement to get started working with them. Shelley or Lori?
I mean, in the 2 meetings that we had, by far, I think they can take us to the next level. And really, the facility study will help us really find out what do we have, what are we missing, how do we move forward. And one of the things, once we get into, if we decide to do anything that was very interesting, was basically we can pick and choose taking stuff out or leaving stuff in, and it's just the click of a button and they can tell us what the impact is based on cost, based on what it does to the floor plan, all that kind of stuff. And so I just think they were a little bit above some of the other candidates that we had out there, with an overall from start to finish. And they head up everything. It's not requiring David or Rick or Mike to all of a sudden become construction people in the middle. I mean, we hired them to do a job, and that's to be with our kids. So I liked that part of it as well. I thought they were, again, far and above the rest.
That's a good point. Thank you, Lori, for bringing that up. Tina, do you have anything?
Not really. I mean, we spent a lot of time asking a lot of questions, and we asked a lot of hard questions in our second meeting, and I felt really comfortable with the time that we spent. I think we needed a follow-up meeting. And it's hard to compare the companies equally because they offer so many different things, but I think at the end, I'm very comfortable with our recommendation, and I do feel like from start to finish, it's a full process for us, so I'm comfortable with it.
Thank you for that information. Shelley, anything additional? Okay.
Then I think we'd look for a motion to approve the partnership development agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the partnership development agreement with Nexus Solutions to lead our facility study as recommended.
A second.
Is there a cost listed somewhere? I can't find it.
There's no cost for the actual facility study. That the costs come once if we would decide to go through implementation.
And they were similar with the other three. So like it was, the other three were like 5 and then 7 to 10 and then, but it was kind of a wash between what they were, their services were. So cost wise, it was pretty much equal.
Yeah, the cost would be rolled into the next level of the process, exactly what they said, and the cost is comparable to the other ones. The advantage of Nexus in this case is we won't pay anything at this stage of the game while they're developing the plan.
Okay. I have a motion by Shelley, seconded by Lori, to approve the partnership development agreement with Nexus Solutions to lead our facility study as recommended by the Building and Grounds Committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, 2022-23 school calendar.
Yeah, I had this on the agenda last month for kind of a review and a quick talk through. Most importantly, I gave it to Jean and then she fixed it and made sure that everything was correct and I counted right. And she took care of us on that. So this is the same thing, just with a couple little typo type corrections that she took care of for us. And we'd look for a motion to approve the calendar for the 2022-2023 school year.
It's very similar to what we had this last year. What hours are the hours? Do you know how much more we are? Like, is it the same as this year? Like our cushion for snow days and things like that?
Yeah, the cushion,
okay.
the cushion's the exact same. Thank you.
Okay.
Good question.
I make a motion to approve if no one has questions.
I'll second.
Motion made by Tina, seconded by Lisa to approve the 2022-2023 school calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. MOU for mental health resources.
Yeah, this is kind of just a get the ball rolling action here tonight. So we currently have a relationship with a mental health provider that comes into our school district on Thursdays. They work strictly with the insurance providers for the families. So there's, other than the district allowing the space and helping with some of the communication and connection, there's no cost to the district for that service. We're finding that we have probably more need than what we can get served with that current provider. So we are looking at another provider. Stein has come highly recommended from a couple of the other surrounding districts, and I have met with them. They can run a model that runs just like what we're doing right now. They do offer some other They do offer some other models that would come at a cost that we may look at some point in time, but right now I'm not making that recommendation. It would be the same model that we use now, which the cost is covered by the family's insurance and no cost to the district. The thing with these services is there's a number of state approvals that have to happen before this can be a site for them to carry out counseling. So even by approving this tonight, we are months away from actually implementing with this company. But if we don't get this part of it approved to get the ball rolling, we'll never get there. So I will come back to you before we would start any and just give you an update on this, but this is just going to help us get that ball rolling and start to build that relationship with Stein Counseling so that we can make sure that we have the mental health resources to support the kids in our district when they need it.
So once the ball is rolling, fast forward, will they be replacing our current provider or supplementing our current provider?
I think right now the plan is that they would supplement and then we will continue to reevaluate that over time. Yeah, so there's more than enough that we would not want to, especially during a school year, take away from our current provider. We would want to provide that continuity of care for those kids. So I think that's a priority for us, but we do have kids that we can't get added on to increase, the number of students that we would like to start serving. We may reevaluate over time if one of the companies feels like they can serve more kids and we can do it with one company. But there's no disadvantage to us to have 2 days, 2 days a week with two different companies if we have that many kids that need the services and it's coming, from those insurance coverage.
So David, I know you mentioned it, our current provider comes in once a week on Thursday or whatever designated day.
Correct. Yep. And this would be a similar model, maybe the same day of the week, it may be a different day of the week, just depending on their schedule.
If there's no other questions, I will make a motion to approve the MOU with Stein Counseling to begin additional mental health support opportunities for our students and family.
Second.
Motion made by Shelley, seconded by Joni to approve the MOU with Stein Counseling to begin additional mental health support opportunities for our students and families. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, rolling right along. As we had talked about and Joni had mentioned, we have some revisions of a number of policies that are basically the second part of that Neola group. There's summaries of them there. I know that a number of you had read through them. I think one of note would be, the one with the parent concern that came forward or community member concern that came forward. We came to a solution with that specific policy where we clearly stated the district's intentions, but left the federally required language in place and stating that the federal government says we should list this. So I think we took a good stand there.
So we're keeping the language to be covered, but making the message and the statement of what is expected here.
Correct.
think I had one more question, and it had to do with a removal of information. 5112, and it had to do with written consent of parents and child and the entry of them and their medical records. Is that just extra? Or we didn't need that? Or we pulled it under, it wasn't needed? Like, I guess when we make changes, Neola is confirming this, and then we know that this, like, does Bob review all these changes, or how do we make sure?
So Neola has their own legal teams
That
that
covers it.
that are covering
Okay.
this. So they are, if we adopt their policy, we are covered under their legal umbrella.
Okay,
If we modify a policy, then it becomes under our legal umbrella.
if we modify it, it comes under.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if we significantly modify a policy that they're recommending it one way and we significantly modify it and take out language that they're saying should be there, then it becomes, you know,
Our liability.
our liability.
So that specific omission was their recommendation. not
Correct.
Our recommendation.
Got it. Okay.
Was there any other questions about any of them presented? If not, I would move to approve the revision of board policies 3112, 4112. Do I have to list all of these? As listed, thank you.
I'll second.
Motion made by Joni, seconded by Lisa to approve the revision of the board policies that are listed. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
This
Yep.
is, the next one is the second reading of the new policies, a much shorter list. We approved the first reading at the last meeting. And this is just coming back the second time to make it official.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading of the new policies as listed.
I'll second.
Motion made by Shelley, seconded by Lori to approve the second reading of new policies listed. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Mr. Mullenberg, you want to take the next couple? Or do you want me to?
Sure, I have it. First of all, asking to approve the resignation of our JV volleyball coach, Tammy Brownell. She has been with the program for 4 years and as a volunteer and then also as a paid coach. And she did tell me that this probably would be her last year. And she's just so busy with everything else that she's doing and with the nursing role. But we thank her for her service.
I'll move to approve her the resignation of Tammy Brownell as JV volleyball coach.
Second.
Motion by Joni, seconded by Lori to approve the resignation of Tammy Brownell as JV volleyball coach. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Next, I'm happy to bring a family and consumer science teacher candidate for approval. We started this process, as you know, back in March. We did interview 6 different candidates. We had 3 that were certified, 3 that were not. We had 1 certified person withdraw about a week and a half ago. The current candidate, Sadie Hooker, is currently student teaching in Westby. And she is doing 7-12 there, which is exactly what the position that we have as well. She has a background in cooking, sewing, very strong in FCCLA, very passionate about the program. The committee was excited to recommend her and for us to have a candidate that will start in January. She finishes her student teaching January 14th in Westby. And we'd be looking at probably the next week having her start the week before our semester starts, so that she can get accustomed to everything that we have if you approve her tonight. So I'm just really excited that we can hopefully offer face again. The kids have been asking me about it a lot, and I told them I will give them more information after tonight.
I would just add the level of excitement and passion from this candidate was impressive as I met with her in that final round. You'll note in the notes, family and consumer education has really been renamed a few years ago as family and consumer science. And she refers to it passionately that way. And I said, you know what, that's the way we're going to list it. But I expect big things from her and continuing to look at our course offerings. And we're really excited to have her join our team.
Any other questions?
Have you met with her yet, Dave, for the salary? So where did you place her on the salary scale?
With this position being a highly difficult position to fill, she is placed within the guidelines that are in the handbook. In looking at her department, she is not the highest. She is the lowest in her department. So we were able to get her in a good place, but has started above base.
So what point is she at?
1E.
If there are no other questions, I will make a motion to approve the hire of Sadie Hooker as the middle school, high school, family and consumer science teacher effective January 17th, 2022.
I'll second.
Motion made by Shelley, seconded by Lisa to approve the hire of Sadie Hooker as middle school, high school, family and consumer science teacher effective January 17th, 2022. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Mr. Chaplin.
Thanks, Julie. The only thing I have on there this month is the Child Development Day. Normally, I begin planning that with Kari, but obviously she's no longer here. So trying to navigate that. And then with, it's going to be mostly with Lisa Waldenberger, who is one of our 4K teachers, and then figuring out what that's going to look like this year, given COVID and things like that. So just seeing what we might tweak this year because of that, or what we might tweak just in general. So again, that's part of our child find activities. Those are required activities to look for 3 and 4 year olds that may have a disability that we may not see because they're not in a school setting. And that's Child Development Day is just one of those activities that we do.
Any other questions for Mr. Chaplin? Thank you. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Julie. Courteous is the month of December word for our PBIS program. We have been, Ms. Shaw has been working tirelessly to prepare our students for her music concert tomorrow night. Super excited for her and the students, of course. It is her first concert ever as a teacher. So if you know anything about Ms. Shaw, she's probably been thinking about this since she was in elementary school herself. So I'm excited for her and the students tomorrow night. We've just wrapped up report cards this trimester. All those went home last week. And then in January, we'll be doing our second round of map testing and F&P screening for the year. So.
Any questions for Mr. Johnson? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mullenberg.
Thank you, Julie. First up, we have started some ACT prep. We started last Friday. We did it for first and second hour. Earlier this year, I had a group of juniors ask me if we could do some before Christmas break. So I talked to staff and we worked it out. So our plan was we did last Friday and we'll do this Friday. We have them split into 4 groups so they can rotate 2 hours last Friday, 2 hours this Friday. So they can do all 4 subject areas. And then again, in late February, just before the ACT, we would do another round similar to this and include some the writing piece in there as well with Ms. Freimiller. So I have had a lot of positive feedback after last Friday with it. some introductory things that we did for the 4 core areas. So we're testing that out. And previously we've done a full day, we've done a half a day. The staff just felt like we lose a lot of the kids when we go those longer marathon sessions. So they wanted to try breaking it up. So we're giving that a try this year and hopefully we'll have positive results from that. Secondly, we are, our band and choir concert will be Monday night, the 20th, with band starting at 7 o'clock right here in the school. And then choir will be out there at 8 o'clock. It's middle and high school both that night. So I've been in there listening to them and I'm excited to listen to them on Monday night. They sound great.
Any questions for Mr. Mullenberg? All right, thank you. Mr. Brackup?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot on there, other than just want to mention the vaccine clinics that we did. I believe went very well with Walworth County. We had 107 vaccines at the first clinic that was delivered. 47 of those going to 5 through 11 year olds, which was outstanding numbers. To my understanding, those all got back for their second dose at the second one, and we had some additional community members. When we look moving forward, 16 to 18 year olds that got vaccinated here last year will soon be eligible for their boosters. So we will be looking at doing another clinic, and the model that Walworth County is able to present right now, where while we're doing that, they can do any level, is amazing for not only our families here in the school, but in the community as well. So we'll continue to make those events open to the community as we hold at least one more, if not 2 more throughout the course of this year, just to make that available. The old school site ended up being a really good location for them getting started without disrupting necessarily any of the functions going on here in the school. And that was a good thing. So other than that, you guys did get iPads a little while ago. I have on the agenda here. I'd like you to maybe try to bring them in January, and let's see if with your paper still safely to your side, if you can kind of begin to try to navigate some of the technology and be able to get through it. I think it's easier when you can see it kind of broke up and it's not as many pages, but give that a try, and we could maybe get to the point where we're without printing the big packet for the meetings, have everything there. So yeah, we'll remove
We
that
can
for sure.
remove that part. I saw that too, Shel.
It is actually already deactivated on weekend.
Okay, I look for approval of the consent agenda. If no one has anything to remove other than the family and consumer science position has been filled.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Shelley, seconded by Joni to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain, Jean.
Okay, I think we are ready to adjourn to closed session. I need a motion.
So move.
Shelley. Motion made by Lori, seconded by Shelley. We'll roll call vote, starting with Tina.
Aye.
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 Aye. We are adjourned to closed session. we're good to go. Okay. We are returning from closed session and ask for motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Wow. Motion by Joni, seconded by Lori to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, everyone.